Mistakes were made. Ambassador Lyric of the Zorvani Dominion stood at the panoramic window of the command deck, his 6 violet eyes scanning the swirling blue marble below. Primitive, he scoffed, antennae twitching in disdain. Too much water. Too much weather. Too wild. His adjutant, a thinner, silver-skinned Zorvani named Velrix, hovered nervously behind him. Sir, their signals indicate some degree of technological development. Satellite grids. Encrypted comms. Weapons platforms, perhaps. Lyric waved a dismissive claw. Decorative. Noise. Their species has only recently breached their own gravity well. These humans are arrogant children playing with fire. He stepped forward and straightened the ceremonial collar of his envoy robe, bright crimson with the Dominion's sigil stitched in gold. A speech was queued up, one carefully crafted to balance threat with false generosity. Lyric liked these parts. It made him feel important. Open planetary broadcast, he commanded. A low chime echoed. A holographic recording device hovered before him. He began, People of Earth, I am Lyric, emissary of the Zorvani Dominion, keeper of the core flame, sovereign over 11 systems and 58 intelligent species. I greet you with opportunity. He paused for effect, savoring the moment. You stand on the edge of annihilation or ascension. Submit to the Dominion, and your extinction shall be avoided. Resist, and your suffering will be instructional for others. He gave his best diplomatic smile, a grim baring of fangs. Your compliance is expected within 24 planetary cycles. He nodded to Velrix. Send it. Earth's reply came in 8 minutes. The holoscreen blinked to life. Lyric and Velrix watched, confused, as images flashed in rapid succession. A bear roaring, followed by a human soldier fist-bumping the same bear. Then another clip, a rocket launch with the words, Hold my beer, superimposed in bold. A montage of explosions, flag-raising, and something called WrestleMania played to the thunder of electric guitars. Then the screen cut to black. A simple sentence in bold, white font faded in. You poke the space bear, you get the claws. Velrix blinked. Was that a threat or a mating display? Lyric didn't answer. His claws twitched. Fools. They mock us. Launch a precision strike. Disable one of their satellites. Show them consequence. The strike was authorized immediately. A Zorvani skirmisher cruiser, sleek, bristling with plasma lances, fired a single blast at an orbiting human satellite. The structure shattered instantly, tumbling into Earth's atmosphere in a trail of glittering wreckage. Lyric smiled smugly. There. Now they'll understand the futility. 17 seconds later, the Zorvani ship's hull erupted in flames. A trio of human orbital drones, half the size, twice as fast, had responded with lethal precision. No warnings, no negotiations, just retaliation. The Zorvani cruiser broke apart in silence, its debris scattering like bones in the void. Lyric stumbled back, eyes wide. What? Velrix gaped at the readings. That wasn't automated. That was tactical, immediate, efficient. An alarm blared. Before Lyric could process it, a pulse of energy rocked his own vessel. Earth's forces had triangulated their position. The ship's shields collapsed as a sudden EMP fried the forward NAV array. Direct boarding parties incoming, someone yelled. No, this is a diplomatic, Lyric shouted, but it was too late. The hull was breached. A sharp hiss of decompression. Then silence. And then boots. He awoke in a metal room with rounded corners and artificial gravity, shackled to a chair far more ergonomic than necessary. The temperature was oddly pleasant. Smelled like pine? Or something synthetic trying very hard to be friendly. A human entered. She was average height by their species standards, dressed in a navy blue uniform. Her expression was unreadable, but her eyes, pale green and hard as alloy, locked onto him with surgical precision. Ambassador Lyric, I presume. You are violating. I'm Captain Amina Dela Cruz, USS Grizzly. Lyric blinked. Grizzly? Is it a warship class? She smiled without humor. It's a bear. A pause. Then she tossed something on the table. A small patch, stitched with the outline of a roaring bear, claws outstretched. The words "Don't poke the bear" circled the image. Lyric swallowed. "You sent a threat." "We responded," she said evenly. "And now, we'd like to get to know you. Is this a formal declaration of war?" She chuckled. "No, Ambassador. That was your job. And you already did it." Outside the ship's window, Earth rotated silently. A blue marble, no longer passive. It watched back, and the space bear was awake. Things humans do for fun. Ambassador Lyric had assumed captivity would be grim. Spartan cells, interrogation lights, cold silence. Instead, it was confusing. He sat alone in a climate-controlled room, neither hot nor cold, lit by soft, ambient light, and painted in warm earth tones. There was a small couch, a clean water dispenser, and a box labeled "Emergency Snacks Spicy." Use with caution. And music, some kind of thumping rhythm with distorted, growling vocals. It made him feel like something was about to explode. A chime sounded, and Captain Amina Dela Cruz entered, holding a steaming cup. "Morning," she said. "Tea." Lyric squinted. "Is this hospitality?" "Yep," she replied, plopping into the chair across from him. "Standard POW protocol. Geneva Conventions. Plus, we're not monsters." He tried to sit taller, but the ergonomic chair resisted. "You wage war and offer tea. We contain multitudes," she said with a smirk. Later, they took him on a walk. The hallway was filled with buzzing consoles, flashing lights, and humans in mismatched uniforms. Some sipping coffee, some laughing. One soldier passed by wearing pink headphones and humming something about "Eye of the Tiger." "This is your warship?" Lyric asked. Dela Cruz nodded. "The USS Grizzly. Light class. Fast. Efficient. Packs a punch. Kind of like a bear on roller skates." Lyric stared at her. "Your metaphors are deeply troubling." She grinned. "Good. Means you're paying attention." She gestured to a viewport. Outside, small drones zipped in formation around the hull. Some performed acrobatics. One trailed colorful smoke. "Training exercise," she said. "We call it drone ballet." "You weaponize choreography?" "Why not?" she said. "War's not just about firepower. It's about rhythm, precision, creativity, chaos." She paused, then added, "You probably wouldn't get it." Lyric bristled. "The Zorvani have mastered combat over centuries." "Yeah? Against who?" He hesitated. "The Varn." "The Varn," she repeated flatly. "The ones with feathers and no standing army? They resisted us. Verbally. Fascinating. We trained by fighting ourselves for thousands of years," she said, stopping him at a door. "You want to see what that looks like?" The door slid open. The room inside was massive, part gym, part arena, part chaos chamber. Humans in exosuits fired paint-covered projectiles at each other, while drones strafed the ground with harmless stun beams. Explosions of foam and color burst like fireworks. In one corner, a group of Marines wrestled what appeared to be a robot shaped like a velociraptor. "What is this madness?" Lyric whispered. "Simulation training," Dela Cruz replied. "Stress inoculation. Chaos exposure. Team bonding. Plus it's fun." "Fun?" She nodded. "Yeah, we train harder than we fight. Because when it's real, there's no time to think. Just muscle memory, instinct, and caffeine." A young lieutenant jogged by, covered in neon blue paint and laughing hysterically. "This is how you prepare for interstellar conflict?" Lyric asked. "This is how we prepare for everything. Our planet threw hurricanes, plagues, and politicians at us. You think you're scary?" There was no boast in her voice, only something harder. "Worn in. Earned." Back in his quarters, Lyric sat, unusually silent. He tapped his claws against the table, trying to sort the fraying threads of fear and fascination unraveling in his mind. His species had mastered domination through protocol, precision, hierarchy. But these humans, they thrived in chaos. They made it a game. They enjoyed it. Was it madness? Or evolution? The door opened again. Captain Dela Cruz stepped in and tossed something at him. He caught on reflex, a small object made of plastic. "What is this?" he asked. "Old Earth entertainment. It's called a Rubik's Cube. A logic puzzle. People solve it for fun. drive some folks insane. He studied the tiny colored squares. And if I solve it, she shrugged, then you'll be a little more human. He didn't like that answer. He also didn't like how curious he suddenly was. Hours later, Lyric sat in the quiet, the cube clutched in two hands. A line from earlier echoed back to him. We contain multitudes. He thought about the painted chaos, the laughter under fire, the lethal orbital drones, and the exploding satellite. And the humans who danced with death for sport. You poked the space bear. He was beginning to understand what that meant. And he was beginning to wonder if there was still time to run. Meanwhile, back at the war, Admiral Tulek of the Zorvani Dominion leaned forward in his command cradle, mandibles grinding in irritation. Earth was not going as planned. The orbital fleet had expected an orderly surrender, perhaps a few retaliatory strikes. Not silence, not mockery, and certainly not full-on guerrilla resistance from a planet barely capable of interstellar travel. But fine, if diplomacy failed, fire would speak. 3 Zorvani warships descended from orbit, flanked by ground deployment pods, sleek, efficient vehicles packed with troops, drones, and suppressor tanks. Targets: a rural zone called Montana, a crumbling industrial site named Detroit, and a frigid wasteland labeled Siberia. Low population, high psychological impact. Classic shock and awe. He was assured resistance would be minimal. It wasn't. Montana, Earth, 9:13 local time. Sergeant Rock of the Zorvani Ground Force stepped from his drop pod into open wilderness. Rolling hills, patches of snow, pine trees that swayed like soldiers at rest. No humans in sight. He motioned forward. The unit advanced, sensors scanning. Heat signatures flickered, movement behind tree lines, brief, distant. Perhaps wildlife. Then came the sounds, a low rumble like thunder. Then engines. Dozens. A swarm of quadcopters zipped over the ridge, trailing smoke and playing Ride of the Valkyries. Then came the ATVs. Old human machines. Rusted. Modified. Driven by shouting men in camo and baseball caps, some with cowboy hats. All grinning like maniacs. They charged. The lead rancher, a burly man with a beard like barbed wire, yelled, "Welcome to the big sky, aliens," and lobbed what looked like a beer can. It exploded. Detroit, Earth, 1340 local time. Urban drop zones were always risky. But Zorvani Intel had labeled Detroit degraded. Weak infrastructure, minimal civilian threat. Reality disagreed. As the troops emerged from their armored pods, sniper fire rang out from crumbling buildings. Explosives detonated from sewers. Combat drones, cobbled together from civilian drones and flamethrowers, swarmed like angry hornets. From behind an abandoned semi-truck, a voice boomed. "Y'all picked the wrong block." A squad of humans emerged, decked out in mismatched armor. Military surplus, football pads, welding masks. The Zorvani panicked under the barrage. Urban warfare required control. Containment. These humans offered neither. They thrived in the wreckage. Siberia, Earth, 1705 local time. Zorvani soldiers stepped on a frozen tundra, sensors already glitching from solar interference. The cold sank in almost instantly. Despite armor rated for sub-zero climates, the chill crept through like a living thing. Boots cracked on ice. Joints locked. Comms stuttered. No resistance. No heat signatures. Empty, the lead unit reported. Then one soldier screamed. A blur of fur and claws. Not human, but a native predator, some bear-wolf hybrid that seemed more myth than animal. By the time they adjusted weapons, more arrived. Snowmobiles, too, driven by silent, bundled humans who said nothing, just circled and fired. One of them had a flag on their back. Just the outline of a bear. No words. Message received. Zorvani High Command, orbit. Admiral Tulek reviewed the reports in stunned silence. 3 landing parties, gone dark. Hundreds dead. Dozens captured. He watched shaky footage from the Montana feed. A rancher high-fiving a soldier as they loaded a captured Zorvani walker onto a flatbed. What are they doing? Tulek growled. Rebuilding it. A tactician said grimly. with modifications. Another clip. A group of Detroit survivors painted graffiti on a disabled Zorvani tank. Property of Earth. Thanks for the ride. And in Siberia, someone had made a snowman wearing a Zorvani helmet. Next to it, a sign. We don't hibernate. We hunt. Tulek's claws scraped the console. This isn't war. It's mockery. No, sir, said the comms officer, swallowing hard. It's culture. They're turning war into performance. From his holding room aboard the USS Grizzly, Ambassador Lyric watched the same footage. He didn't laugh. He didn't blink. He simply muttered, I warned you. Earth broadcast, viral galactic-wide. The humans released a video the next day. Footage from all 3 battle zones, overlaid with rock music and dramatic slow motion. Scenes of humans spray-painting tanks, dancing behind drones, and sharing drinks around fires after ambushes. Final title card. You poke the space bear. It spread across Zorvani-controlled space like a virus. And something began to crack in the image of Dominion superiority. Not because Earth had more ships, not because they had better tech, but because Earth had teeth and laughed while it bled. The bear doesn't sleep. The Zorvani Council of Control met in a private chamber aboard the Dominion flagship Ullerith. There were no translators, no servants, just silence, grim and metallic. A 3D image hovered in the center of the room. Earth, still turning, still defiant. Counselor Jernick, elder of military doctrine, broke the silence. We underestimated them. No, replied Counselor Drilla, her voice venomous. We insulted them, then challenged them on their own turf. And they responded with chaos, Jernick said. With humor, muttered another. With purpose, added a fourth. A heavy pause followed. Then Drilla leaned forward, mandibles curled in bitter curiosity. Why do they fight like this? What drives them? No one had an answer, until the door opened. Ambassador Lyric entered, still clad in Earth-issued attire, bearing a bruised pride and something deeper, respect. I've seen them up close, he said. It's not their weapons that should worry us. It's their nature. Counselor Jernick narrowed his eyes. Explain. Lyric paused. They are a species born of instability. Their world burns, drowns, shakes beneath them, and yet they thrive. Their history is war, yes, but also rebuilding, reinventing, laughing in the face of extinction. Again and again. Counselor Drilla snorted. Resilience is not victory. Lyric's gaze sharpened. No, but they've already won in one way. We came to terrify them into surrender. Instead, they made memes of us. A silence hung in the chamber like dust in a sunbeam. USS Grizzly, Earth orbit. Captain Amina Dela Cruz stood before the primary viewing window, watching the Zorvani fleet reposition. They hadn't fired again. Not in days. They're not retreating, said Commander Blake, arms folded. But they are hesitating. Good, Amina replied, sipping her coffee. Let them hesitate. Let them wonder what we'll do next. Behind her, the bridge hummed. Communications poured in, not just from Earth governments, but from civilian groups, hacker collectives, underground militias, even school robotics clubs submitting anti-boarding drone designs. Everyone wanted to help. Not out of fear, out of fun. Earth had unified. Not under command, but under insult. They'd been challenged. And someone had poked the bear. Zorvani border outpost, 6 weeks later. The first defection didn't come from Earth. It came from one of the outer colonies, the feline-like Zalari, who had been Dominion subjects for over 200 years. They intercepted Earth's viral broadcast. Then another. Then another. Humans in zero-G doing push-ups. Humans prank-calling Zorvani warships. Humans holding signs like, we have ranch dressing and you don't. Laughter became subversion. Subversion became resistance. Then rebellion. The Dominion's grip began to slip. The bear wasn't just fighting. It was spreading. Earth global broadcast. Amina Dela Cruz stood at a podium in Geneva, flanked by representatives from dozens of nations and 2 aliens who had defected just days prior. Make no mistake, she said calmly, clearly, we don't want war. But we won't be bullied into submission. Not by fancy titles. Not by shiny ships. And definitely not by someone who's never seen a bear in real life. Chuckles rippled through the crowd. We didn't start this, but we'll finish it with grit, with duct tape, with sarcasm if necessary. The applause was thunderous. She stepped back, and the world stepped forward. Final transmission. The bear awakens. Somewhere in deep space, far beyond known Dominion territory, a human exploration vessel floated near a gas giant, scanning for resources. They weren't part of the war, just scientists and engineers. But the ship was armed, just in case. A Zorvani scout vessel appeared, weapons powered up. The human captain sent one message. Don't. The Zorvani hesitated, paused, and retreated. Epilogue. You poked the space bear. In the years that followed, the phrase spread beyond Earth, a symbol of defiance, of irreverent resistance. Alien dissidents painted it on walls in glowing ink. Children on mining moons wore bear emblems stitched onto their uniforms. In back alleys and border stations, people whispered stories about how one little blue planet stood up to an empire with duct tape bombs and sheer audacity. Some even claimed the Dominion never recovered, that it split from within, that its image of invincibility was shattered the moment Earth laughed in its face. No one really knows when the war ended. Maybe it never truly began, because, as every child in the galaxy now learns, you don't poke the space bear, not unless you're ready to get mauled.